Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Learning Torah Lishma. Today I want to talk about a topic that I see is mentioned a lot in Shurim Jewish classes given by rabbis and rebbitzins, rebbes, rosh yeshivas, chachams, whoever it may be, even by regular people that you speak to. Before I tell you what they say, let me just ask the question that comes before the statement is, where is it safer to live, in America or in Eretz Yisrael? Now, of course, when Mashiach comes and the light of Hashem, the Shechina is going to be Niskala, and there will be no more war. Everything will be perfect. Hashem himself will make sure that there's no corruption. Of course, the best place would be Eretz Yisrael. Absolutely, no question about that. Whoever will be zeichet, merit to live in Eretz Yisrael, the righteous Yidden, those of them that are zeicha, the righteous Gentiles, those of them that are zeicha, it will be the greatest thing, the greatest place. It will be like no other. Eretz Yisrael, no question about that, and actually the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael will actually extend. You have to look into, the prophecies of when Mashiach comes, but the boundary Eretz Yisrael will actually, it's called Eretz Tzvi. It's a land. It's a deer land. Like deer skin. It could stretch. It becomes big. And it could just, and at the same time it could be small. So in Gullus, it's small, but the land will stretch. It will become much bigger. And there's also ways al pi Kabbalah that with according to the mystics, we found it done one time in the Tanakh, where there's a way mystically to take the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael and extend it outwards into a new piece of land. There is a way to do that. You understand? Al pi Kabbalah. So that's just, this is all very interesting. So, of course, when Mashiach comes, the safest place, not just safest, because that's without a doubt, but so, the best place, right? That's because safety is not going to be a question anymore. So the best place to live is Eretz Yisrael. But the question is now in Gullus, when we're in Gullus, in exile, where the Satan, the Satan roams, he roams around, where we have evil people that follow the ways of the Satan, whether they realize it or not, where evilness in these 6,000 years of complete free will, where a person can decide to do evil things and can succeed at doing evil things, in these time of 6,000 years, Eretz Yisrael, the Holy Land, can be more dangerous to live in than a different part of the world, which isn't the Holy Land. So that's the question today. Where is it safer, right? The UK, there's places that are having England, the places that are having big issues. But let's take a big place that, the Muslim population hasn't overrun them yet. America. So is it safer to live in America or to live in Eretz Yisrael? I'm talking about physically. We'll get to spiritually soon. Physically. You have to, when people say spiritually, of course, there's no place like Eretz Yisrael. So that's not even a question. At the same point, Hashem gave us many, many commandments so that we could have Avira de Eretz Yisrael. We could bring the spirituality of the land of Israel to wherever Hashem may send you in the gullus, in the exile. So whether you're in Rome, in Greece, in America, in England, in wherever you may be, Germany, the mitzvahs, the tremendous amount of mitzvahs, the many commandments, is able to give you the holiness of Israel by keeping the commandments. Loving Hashem, connecting to Him, keeping Shabbos, keeping kosher, keeping Taras HaMishpacha, the purity of the home. And now, the Kedushas Eretz Yisrael is not something that's limited to a land, but the Torah, the Bible, has a power to bring it out wherever you may be. Of course, live in a righteous place amongst righteous people. So, spirituality, you could be in America and you could be more spiritual than someone living in Israel, in Eretz Yisrael. There's people living in Eretz Yisrael that literally hate people that practice any Judaism. They hate the yarmulke. They hate, the kippah. That's what they're trained. That's how they're trained to think. And then you have another person that's in America that's also not keeping the religion, but he doesn't hate people that do. He respects them, that they do keep the religion. You understand? So we see that even in the land of Israel, a person with their bechira, with their free will, can bring evil into the land. You understand? Can't do that. We see it. People hating the religion, hating someone for keeping Shabbos, for keeping kosher, for doing Taras HaMishpacha. Something that has nothing to do with them. They hate them with a passion. So we're starting to see that if someone connects to the Kedushas Eretz, to the holiness of the land, then it's unparalleled. You understand? If you're living in America, it would take a tremendous amount of devotion to Hashem, a connecting to His commandments. You understand? To experience what happens when you're in Eretz Yisrael. It's definitely now if someone's able to live in Eretz Yisrael and they go after Hashem there and they learn there, it doesn't mean they don't take care of their family. Definitely, you work, you learn, absolutely. And lots of times I say work first because people look at it as such an ugly thing, and I just want to point out that that's a part of life. You do it with holiness. You do it for God. You have kids you have to bring up. You understand? You do it for God. So we're seeing two things. First of all, whether you're in Eretz Yisrael, whether you're in America, what's going to make the difference is how you're brought up, what your intentions are. The chinuch. That's the first thing. After that, of course, if you could be in Eretz Yisrael, it's the best. But if being in Eretz Yisrael means that you might be killed, if it means, this is literally in halacha, if it's dangerous, if money-wise, it's very, very difficult. If shidduchim-wise, getting married-wise, it's just very difficult there, which in that aspect, I think everywhere it's difficult. So that wouldn't apply today. But money-wise and danger-wise, this is literally in the halacha that this is a legit reason in the Gullus, while we're in exile, this is a legit reason why someone could say, I have to leave Eretz Yisrael. This is in halacha recognized as something that is correct. Now, if you're Reb Chaim Kanievsky, if you're the Stipler, the halacha also talks about if you're someone who is, he connects to Chayichi, the higher levels of their soul, and they're a different level type of person. You understand? Their level of emunah, they're not afraid of the danger. They're on such a high level of bitachon, then they should still stay in Eretz Yisrael. And of course, someone on that level would. You understand? But those are very, that's not, most of the people are not like that. You understand? So for most people, it's a decision, meaning they have the right not to live in Eretz Yisrael. According to the halacha, they could leave. And that's it's a decision, meaning it's neutral. You could decide either one. There are many people that say, even though I might get killed, my kids might get killed, the Zionists, the people running the country, there are many people that are controlling the country that hate Judaism, and they just want to be called Jews, but they don't want to have to do anything. They consider anything as any type of worship of, any type of commandments. They look at it as a negative, and they want to turn your children that way. And the army making that, now they even say a girl has to go to the army. You understand? So which is unheard of in history, that a country obligates women to go to the army. This is severe degeneracy. Severe. You understand? To obligate that. But they do. Just the men alone, it's that in and of itself is horrible for someone that's practicing Judaism. Why? Because the army is not a spiritual place. They don't run the army in a spiritual way, and they actually say in their own books that the army is there to make you not Jewish, to take away your practice of Judaism. That's what they say. You understand? And even when they create Nachal Haredi or whatever these things, they can't even fathom. First of all, it's usually a trick just to get you starting to go, and then they control you. That's what they would literally do. But they are so far from in any way practicing Judaism that they don't even know how to set up a proper one. You understand? Even if you had someone that was actually pro people keeping Judaism, they wouldn't know how to set up a proper one. It's such a degenerated place, spiritually degenerated, for someone that wants to really serve Hashem and the 613 commandments, that a person falls away. And we also have to know that not every person, even people that are not practicing Judaism, and you understand, not every person mentally is able to go through the trials and tribulations of war. Many people committing suicide, going on drugs, going crazy. I've seen it, literally seen soldiers, acting like crazy people, by the train station. So, and then you throw them into a battle, you understand? So, it's very serious. From a spiritual way of looking at it, it's horrible. But also, from a physical way, you can't just say everybody. You must have a way to vet, and there's, not everybody's meant for such gruesome things. You understand? There are people that their nature just cannot coincide in such an environment. And I would say at least a third, for sure, a third of the populace. Not talking about people that are from, talking about people that are not from, Chilayim. I would say at least a third cannot. You cannot. It's unethical to put them in that situation. Their minds cannot handle something like that. Just the training alone, without going into war. Not everybody is mentally able to handle such a thing. It is rigorous training, as one needs. You need rigorous training when you're going against people, animals that burn kids alive, put babies in microwaves, rape the women. You need vigorous training for such a thing. Absolutely, but you have to understand at the same time that not everybody is physically capable of going through the training and certainly going into actual war. You can force them, but that makes them go crazy. That makes people commit suicide. They start taking psychedelics. This is what happens. I see many people just from the training alone that have literally gone insane or start taking psychedelics. Many also commit suicide. So you have to, you can't work this way. You can't work this way. Anytime someone says everybody in any scenario, it is wrong. It is wrong. It is wrong. So, getting back to our question, from all the big countries in the world, I think, it's between America. So the only one that the best place to ask the question, I think, is America. Where is it safer to live? In America or in Eretz Yisrael? Now, I'm not talking about, if you go to that Somali place, where all those Somalis live, Dearborn, right? I'm not talking about you go there. There it might actually be more dangerous, right? America is very big. You could live in New Jersey. There's so many places you could live. Florida, Texas. There's literally 50 states, you understand? And in each state, there's many, many cities. You understand? So if you purposely go to that Somali place, Dearborn, and then you say, yeah, Eretz Yisrael is safer, you're not being honest. You're not being honest. You literally picked out the one worst place in the entire America, right? If someone says, I'm going to go live in the hood, right? And then he says, well, Eretz Yisrael is safer. Well, why did you pick out the hood from all the places, right? In general, in America, it's safe. Are there places that are extremely dangerous, that every night people are getting killed? Absolutely. Why move there, right? So, I actually did hear that there is a Jewish community in Dearborn. I'm like, I was shocked. How did I find out about this? Because the Muslims were planning, they wanted to carry out like an October 7th. It seems like they've been trying to do this around the world. And the Mossad, let countries know. It could be, the FBI here, the CIA also figured out stuff, and literally they put together a lot of ammunition in Dearborn and in New Jersey to go against the Jewish communities there to, create a massacre, and the Secret Service caught them, So it's literally like, and they've been trying to do this all around the world in different countries and, different Jewish communities. So we have to literally thank Hashem. That's the only way I knew that there's actually Jews that live in Dearborn. I was shocked. It's not the safest place to live, But getting back to what we're saying. So the so the question is, where is it safer to live, in America or in Eretz Yisrael? Physically safe. Now you're going to say, what about the spirituality? So as we discussed before, spirituality, there's no question that Eretz Yisrael is the most spiritual place. There's no question about that. At the same time, Hashem gave us the Torah, and the Torah allows you, you can make your camp holy by keeping the Torah. You understand? You could bring the Avira Eretz Yisrael there. You could bring, in a bechina, in a certain way, you could bring the holiness of Israel, of Eretz Yisrael, to your place. And if Eretz Yisrael is dangerous, so that might be your best scenario. You understand? Your best option. If you're Rav Chaim Kanievsky, it could be different, but you're not, because you understand. We're regular people. You understand? So that whole thing about kedusha, it all begins with you, your upbringing, your decisions. You understand that? And and what's interesting is even if Eretz Yisrael is dangerous, and you're not on the level of Chaim Kanievsky, you could still move there. You understand? It's a neutral. You understand? You could be outside of Eretz Yisrael. You could be in Eretz Yisrael. It's neutral. You could decide what to do. So if a person wants himself to be safe, his spouse, his children, if someone wants to know safety-wise, we have to answer the truth. Spiritually wise, just go to a Jewish community. You understand? Don't go in the middle of nowhere, or like a place that doesn't really keep religion. Go to a Jewish place. If there are many Jewish communities. You could get people together, and you could, I see in Florida there's one of these places that they've been advertising, that they're literally building a Jewish community there, and they're building a boys' school, a girls' school, a synagogue, everything. So that's also another option. You understand? So it's not like you could only have spirituality in Eretz Yisrael. Is it like next level in Eretz Yisrael? Absolutely. But is that your only scenario? No. So if someone asks you safety-wise, you have to answer them honestly. You can't start thinking, well, spiritually, what could be compared to Eretz Yisrael? That's not what they're asking you. You have to be honest to what they're asking you. They're asking you is safety-wise. You understand? And you have to answer them honestly. So that's what we want to get into today. Where is it safer to live? In America or in Eretz Yisrael? Now, Mashiach has not arrived yet, right? And we're hopefully he comes right now. You understand? But at the moment he's not. He has. We don't hear the shofar blow. It hasn't happened yet. So if a person wants to live in a safe place, a place that's safe for him, his wife, and his children, a person has an absolute right to. And you need to answer them honestly. And therefore, the question, where is it safer? You can't just get brainwashed by all these other factors. You understand? If someone's asking you that question, you must answer them honestly. And not answer them according to if they asked a different question. If they ask spiritually which place is the greatest, no question, Eretz Yisrael. But that's not their question right now. Their question is, where is it safer? Where you're going to say, well, if spiritually it's better, then that must be the best place. because that means people won't sin. It means God is there. So that must be the safest. You know, we see people live in Israel and they're against God. But free will gives you the ability that you could literally be in the lap of God. You could be in Israel, in Yerushalayim. You could be living on the Kotel, you know, on the Kotel mountain over there. You could have a house there. And a person could do all types of sins and could be against God. The high spirituality does not take away your free will. Free will reigns. And one could decide to be good. One could decide to be bad. A person could decide to be half-half, whatever it may be. That's a person's decision. Right now, we have the ability to choose evil. That is, for 6,000 years, Hashem gave us that ability. So, getting stuck with spirituality and just thinking it through that lens is incorrect. Because in America, you have firm places. And let's say in the beginning of America that there wasn't, you could get people, there's, you know, instead of each person that comes to you say, well, there is no firm community, be honest and say, well, there's 10 people that want to go. 10 people is a minyan. That's considered already a community. Certainly, I'm sure there's for sure more, you know, back in the day. And you could create one instead of just saying there isn't. You understand? You have to be careful with honesty. You know, this is, you know, when we, you know, the nisyanos, the challenges of a righteous person are these type of challenges, because they're on such a different level that sometimes they don't understand. For them, you know, as a person that's Rav Chaim Kanievsky, as a person that's the Stipler, as a person that's the Chazon Ish, there's no question Eretz Yisrael is the place. You understand? But you don't understand that almost everybody else is not on that level. So you have to be able to guide them according to the level. You, as this great person, have the shmira, have a special, Hashem is watching over you in a special way. But a regular person doesn't have it the way you have it. And he's in danger. And if it's dangerous, and there's a different place that's not dangerous, and either there's a Jewish community there that he could move to, or there's people that want to go, and you could send them together, and they can make a Jewish community, then you have to be honest and tell them that is an option, and it's neutral. It's this or that. Hashem allows you to do either one. You have to be honest. So getting back to the question, where is it safer? America or Eretz Yisrael or Israel? The answer is America. It doesn't take away from the greatness and the holiness of Eretz Yisrael, of Israel. Not at all. But in the Gullus, it doesn't work the same way when, you know, as in Gan Eden, as after Mashiach comes. It doesn't work the same way. There are different rules. Things work different. And to ignore them, especially if you're someone that is a leader, would be misinformation, would be a sin. And if someone gets hurt, God forbid, Chas v'shalom, that's your responsibility. Now, you know, I'll just say a few things. I don't think I have to say it, but just to show why in America it's safer than Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, you literally just have October 7th, many other attacks before that. We had two years in Eretz Yisrael of missiles being shot. There's 10 million people, 8 million are Jews, 2 million are literally Arabs, many of them Muslims. And every once in a while they go on a running spree and go kill Jews. I've literally seen it after the fact, and I see them catching the guy, chasing him. I didn't see the stabbing, but they were running after him, and they caught him. Literally, like you're walking down the street, and you see this guy that just stabbed someone running away. I didn't see the stabbing, I have to thank Hashem that I didn't see the actual stabbing, It's not good to see things like that. But I saw them chasing the guy. So, so there's no question, and literally that Eretz Yisrael is that, let's just say the other way, because respect Eretz Yisrael. America is safer. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. The threat level is great, and also there's a spiritual threat there, because the people running it could take, according to the law, you have to go to the army, and I've seen people that went to Tifrach, strong Litvish yeshivas, and they're not. They come out, and they can't even bring themselves to wear a yarmulke, to wear a kippah. Not even that. Nothing. So, and the people in charge, they're very tricky. So even if they make Nachal Haredi, but first of all, they don't know how to make it. But even if they did make one, really, you understand? They're very tricky people. And they'll make it, and then when everybody starts to send, they'll then, shut it down or slowly change it. And since now everybody's sending, now people got since everybody got into that rhythm of sending, now it's going to be very hard to get people out of that rhythm. You understand? So this is how they work. They're very tricky. So, you just can't trust them. Even if they make a place, everything, you can't trust them. You can't trust them. And, now legally wise, since Israel calls itself a democracy, that actually is a right that should be given in a democracy, that people have a choice to go to the army or not, right? That's a choice. That's what a democracy means. So really, Israel, by forcing men and women to go to the army, is actually against the law of democracy, which they're claiming to be. So there's actually a spiritual danger. So you're not only in physical danger, you're also in spiritual danger. Now, if a person wants to rough it out, or the Rav Chaim Kanievsky, kol hakavod, you have a right to do that. But someone also has a right to say, I don't want to put my family in such a perilous situation. And speakers, I've heard many speakers, this is like the in thing today to say, is encouraging people to come to Eretz Yisrael, saying that, I'm fine with you encourage them, but they're saying that, who knows, maybe America is less safe. It's nothing to compare. There's nothing to compare. America is so much safer. There's nothing to compare. America's so much safer physically and spiritually, because I've seen people that were in the strongest yeshivas, every Panovich, Tifrach, everything, Hasidic yeshivas, which in my opinion are even greater, because they're actually having a lot of love towards Hashem. And all of those, people with with such Yiras Shamayim, such Ahavas Hashem, people with such fear of God, love of God, such connection, the army destroys them. It destroys them spiritually. So, you're not just in physical danger, your family's in spiritual danger. And I completely agree, not that they, this tzaddik needs me to agree, but I could completely agree with the Satmar Rebbe that is saying don't live in Eretz Yisrael. I completely agree with that. Come to America. We're in Gullus. The people controlling there. It's one thing when you're physically in danger, but spiritually it's strong. But spiritually you're also in danger. The whole atmosphere there against Judaism, against people that want to keep the 613 commandments of God, against the Shabbos, against kosher, against Taharas HaMishpacha, purity of the home, against holiness. If someone wants to live there and wants to tough it out, kol hakavod. It's your decision. It's your right. You make a decision with your wife. If you're not married yet, then you're making a decision with yourself. That's your decision. Absolutely. But if someone doesn't want to live there, they have the absolute right as well. And if someone is very concerned with safety, which any normal person should be, then definitely America's safer. There's no question about that. America has its flaws, but in America, we don't find that you could have like a Rebbe's son pulled to the army and then goes off the derech. We just don't find that. Someone who really wants to follow Hashem and is learning and steiging and everything, we don't find, America doesn't drag them into the army and the whole atmosphere there makes them go off the derech. I think it's actually better to be in the American army than the Israeli army, spiritual-wise. Because in the Israeli army, they're trying to make you go off the derech. In the American army, they actually respect you, the fact that you keep the Torah. They actually respect that. This is the price of Gullus, until Mashiach comes, which hopefully comes right now. This is the price of Gullus. That someone that you could have, that the Holy Land could be unsafe physically and even worse spiritually. There are people that were very, very frum, and they were, they're taken into the army, and they lose everything. You're there three something years, 3 and almost 4 years. I don't know. They keep raising the amount of time. You're there, years in this bad environment, drained of all spirituality. How do you survive? I do know someone that did survive, a certain Rav. Is it possible? Anything. There's always exceptions to the rule, but the general rule is that you won't survive. You understand? The person who's sent there won't survive. That is the norm of what happens, and therefore, because that is the case, you have to be Ma'aseh Nefesh. You have to be willing to go through anything not to go there, because it's spiritually dangerous. Now, if a person says, I'm an American citizen, I could visit Eretz Yisrael. But to become a citizen and put myself and my family into that risk, remember, they not only draft men, they draft women. You understand? Men alone is horrible in and of itself, but it's like doubling on the sin when you do that to women as well. It's like really evil. So it makes perfect sense. Visit, absolutely. I'm very into, the summer. Go there for 2 months every year. Absolutely. Become a citizen before you're like 70? No. When you want to retire, when you're 70 and they can't draft you anymore, they can't affect you kid-wise because, you're not having kids. Kala kavod, go live there. But when you have young children, how could you do that to your child? I'm very into leaving Eretz Yisrael or living there without citizenship until they change the rules around, until they actually follow democracy. 100%. 100%. At the same time, if someone wants to risk it, that's their right. If they asked me personally, I always I always go on the side of caution. If there is a real danger, go on the side of caution. If someone wants to risk it, it's neutral. They have a right to. But if someone asks me, and especially if they ask safety-wise, but if someone asks me and I'm weighing the different things, now could there be a few times there could be people that are exceptions? Absolutely. But in general, if someone asks me, probably the answer would be, unless it's an exceptional scenario, the answer would be, don't live there. Work hard to get a citizenship in America and go live in a Jewish community. That's what I would answer him. And we have to pray and daven that Mashiach should come and he should fix all these issues. When I'm in America, I don't have to fret that if I have a real religious child, that he'll become not religious. Sometimes you have a child that's, he's jumping. So you're worried about that. But someone who's really frum, you don't have to worry about it. In Eretz Yisrael, you do. Because they'll take him to the army. And as spiritual as you are, there's very few people that could go almost 4 years. Even 3 years is long. But now I think it's almost 4 years that could go for such a long time and not lose everything. It's very... we're not built like that. You need it. You need to be around good people. You need to, you need that. You need to be around your frum community. You need that. And how much more so when you're young, you need that, Even someone older, it's challenging, but certainly someone when they're young, it's like, So, this is my take. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I've seen, I only really listen to Talmidei Chachamim who are actually smart, People can mean well, but if their brain power is very limited, so that's, their brain power is limited, So I only really listen to people that are very, very smart. What I've seen is even people that are very, very smart, they start saying in different ways. They're like, well, you see, anti-Semitism is growing in America. Maybe it's safer to live here. Even with the anti-Semitism rate rising, it's still safer to be in America. And there's no need to. You don't have to go to college to make money. The richest people make all the richest people. Most of them. They had all the college, people that went to college working for them. You understand? What's his name of Apple, right? The founder of Apple. He was the weakest student when he went to college to learn what programming. He was the weakest student. Everybody was, nothing. If he's lucky, he'll get a job. He created Apple, Apple, I think, is like $1 trillion company. Understand that? Not a billion, $1 trillion company. Just if there's a million, a billion, a trillion. You understand? Understand what's happening here? So, well, I think his name is Steve Jobs. So, the founder of Apple. So just to understand, there are trades. There are so many ways to make money today. Gewalt, just people are complaining about work and job. There's so many ways. Just stand up. Stand up and go work. There's like endless things you could do. But people complaining about jobs so you learn how to do something else. It's your job. You understand? Go start making, and then when you get you get into a better scenario, you could now focus on try to get into something that you like. You understand? Something that you like that makes money. You understand? But there's so much opportunity here in America. So much opportunity. You understand? There's no reason why anybody should be jobless, because people have ego issues. I won't do that. I won't do that. Okay? So if you won't do that, then this pain will happen. Ego. There's no reason why anybody shouldn't have a job today. It's all ego. Move to a different town. You could always come back. You could visit. You don't have to move far, far away. And even in your own town, why do you need you're single. You could live with your parents. I know people look down upon it. I don't see what's wrong with it. Why should you live alone? And if you do move out of your parents, you should be moving into a place with other people, not alone. Why would you want to be alone? You understand? Never understood these things. So, alone is depressing. Many times you just go a few miles out. You go to it doesn't take, lots of times it doesn't take so much to just get, you could be in the city, but you could be in the outskirts and the houses drop the price. The price drops tremendously. Well, you have to live in the center. You understand? There's so many, you could be in the same city. There's so many options. You understand? There's so many options available. But people, they're just egoistic. Me? I'm not going to do that. It's not befitting for me. Who cares? Get yourself started and then eventually be able to get into something that you really want to do. And usually something that you want to do, there's a niche in that actually makes good money, and you go into that niche. Ego is severely detrimental to a person. My goodness. I see so many people, they're getting so, they're getting, their whole life became news. Forget about the news. You need to know a little bit. Okay. Forget about the news. Get out there. You become the news. You become the next Grant Cardone. You become the next Pace Morby. You become them. Now you have news people that are arguing. You get emotional, not just over the news that they talk about that affects you, but that when they're arguing with each other. Yes, it's important that there's definition, but that you should become all emotional, and that should be your focus. Your focus should be working on your character trait, getting a spouse, taking care of your children, making good money. There's whatever 10% of time that you put into this other thing, news. But you understand? Understand what's happening? All that time, so much time wasted on news. You could use that time to learn your professions, things that you like to do. Now, there are people that are meant to be news people, so go as deep as you want into that and become that. But that's a certain type of person. Other people like working with wood, building houses, metal, trains, airplanes, diving, submarines. Endless amounts of things to do in America. Endless. There's literally no end. You could literally be going 24/7. Imagine they had a pill that enabled you to stay awake and not sleep and be healthy. You could go like that for 120 years and be busy your entire life. That's how much opportunity is here in America. All this and that, we're creating jobs. Forget about there's so much here. Your ego stops you. Your laziness. Your unwillingness to focus your mind. That's what stops you. Let us take these great lessons and let us really decide to help ourselves. Let us really decide to help ourselves. Let us really love ourselves and realize our value. And stop thinking, I have to do what that other person did. No. Find your path. Of course, with kindness and goodness, but find your path. I love you, and Hashem loves you more.